All right, team, R166. So R166 consists of 3 circuits, 2 main circuits that everybody's going to be performing separately, and then 1 circuit in between those 2 that everybody's performing together. Your first circuit is going to be 4 exercises, 3 rounds. So it gives them enough time to warm up. The first exercise warm up, or first round warm up. Second round, you want to really start pushing that load. And fourth round, we want to give it everything you've got. Now, after the first circuit, you get a 60-second break. The key to remember on this one is on that last round of the last exercise, let's hand out those rubber bands because we're going to be doing a rubber band squat side step. And that's going to be your right side, left side, and then you're going to do isometric wipers. You're going to be doing 4 rounds. There is 0 rest in between the right side and the left side. There is a 10-second transition from the side step to the isometric wipers. Just enough time to get down, take off the band, get down, and do the isometric wipers. And then you have a 20-second rest at the end of that round. So that's enough time to get the rubber band back on and get yourself set again. Again, 4 rounds in the middle of that workout. Then you're going to do the last circuit, which once again consists of 4 exercises, 3 rounds, 30 seconds of work, 25 seconds of transition time, and a 40-second rest, end of round rest. And their team is R166. It's going to be the single leg contralateral kettlebell deadlift. So option 1 is going to be both hands, both legs. Come down, slight bend in the legs. I keep my back straight, so I'm not rounding off like this. Neutral spine. So however I keep my spine when I'm standing up is I'm going to keep it all the way down. Option 2, same leg, same arm. I'm going to kick back, come up, and again, you notice my knee stays about the same bent the entire time. When I come up, I squeeze that glute. Option 3, opposite arm, opposite leg. This puts more torque on your core, more torque on that lower back. So if you have lower back, if they have lower back issues, I recommend that they do one of the other ones. And the other option that you have before you go up to the contralateral, actually option 1 is going to be here. Option 2 is going to be 2 arms. Option 3 is going to be same arm, same leg. And then option 4 is going to be opposite arm, opposite leg. So whatever works best for them. And you need to assess it. If they can't do proper form on the more advanced exercises, bring them down. Our first exercise is dumbbell flat press. Pretty straightforward. What makes it easier or harder is simply going to be the weight. Always engage the core when you pick the weights up. Always try to pick up the weights from your legs, not from your lower back. You put the weights on your legs. You're grabbing them just like this, and you just roll back. And then you just come in to the pressing position. Now, if you want a little bit more, you can squeeze at the top. But it does no good to do the turning motion unless you actually squeeze and contract that chest muscle. So for most people, it isn't going to make any difference at all. If they do this, it's going to be more chest. If they do this, this is going to be more tricep. Okay, so again, you want them with the palms facing out, or open palms. When they're done, they take it into the parallel position. They come down, raise their legs up, and then they're going to push themselves up just like that. The goblet alternating reverse lunge. So the goblet alternating reverse lunge is the goblet hold. Ideally, you want to have the goblet hold. That's going to continue to work shoulders, chest. It's going to minimize the use of kettlebells as well, so you don't have to have as many kettlebells. So there's a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason is it's going to continue to work our chest and shoulders. So here in the goblet alternating reverse lunge is you're going to keep your chest up. The key to keep the chest up, long lunge back, keep that chest up. You come down, you press through the heel of that front foot. So the big thing that I see, the biggest problem that I see with this is that people go way too short. So the lunge isn't long enough. Nice long lunge, then come down, back up, and then switch to the other side. Again, you're pushing through the heel of that front foot and you keep that chest up. Now, when you start to get too much load, when you're talking about like the 60s, 80s pound kettlebells, that's probably going to be a little bit too much load for most people, and the risk of dropping it, or once they get it up here to drop, before they even get it up there, is probably a little bit too much. So for that, they can go to the double kettlebell. This is going to be another option, again, once they start getting a little bit too heavy, because they have 2 lighter weights that are easier to handle, and they're on each side of the body. Again, same concept, long lunge, we come down, we press through that front heel, Come down, press through the front heel, keeping that chest up. Proud chest. The shoulders are down and back. You want to think about it as proud chest. So really stick that chest out there and keep that chest up. What I see a lot of, again, I see a lot of this, because this is not putting in a range of motion in your legs, it's putting it in your back. So for people that have weak legs or weak glutes, that is going to be more prevalent than something like this. It's going to be easier. Plus, it's not a motion that they're used to doing. The lunge is very long, which they're not used to having that long of a lunge. But that's going to be, and again, preferably the goblet until it gets too heavy, then the double kettlebell on either side. So there is the goblet alternating reverse lunge. Single arm medicine ball push-up. So the key with any type of a push-up is going to be the leverage arm. The shorter the leverage arm, the easier this is going to be, but you're going to have, when you're doing the medicine ball push-up, you have one arm on the medicine ball and one on the ground. This one keeps constant tension. This one locks out, so it's easier. It's going to get a little bit less work. This one's going to get more work. But the key here, again, is the leverage arm. The closer it is, the easier this is going to be. As you walk your knees back, that increases the length of the leverage arm. It gets harder. Once you go on your toes, a much longer leverage arm, so that's the hardest position. Now, if that's too easy, and for some of our members that's definitely too easy, you can do a fly. You can do a push-up, it comes out, and then they're flying back up. But the key on this one is if they're just going to do this, they're not doing anything different than with the medicine ball. They're better off with the medicine ball than they are with the roller. So the key there is that arm has to go out and then it pulls up with the chest. Now, if that's still too easy, which again, for some of our members, not very many, but for some of our members, it's a little too easy. So you're going to do the double roller fly. Now, again, the key here is the arms go out. If you see somebody do this, again, there's no difference in doing a regular push-up. You're just elevated on the push-up. So the arms go out and then back up again. And that is the single arm medicine ball push-up. But the key for beginners, just shorten the leverage arm. For more advanced people, lengthen the leverage arm. Your first exercise, your first new exercise is going to be the squat side step. So here, what you're going to do is put the band, it goes just above the knees. Now you're going to be using a little bit more intensity band there. That's probably a little bit light for most of you. You're going to try to grab a load. You don't have to use a load, but if you want to make it a little bit more intense, grab some load, squat position, and you're just going to side step. So right side, and then you would do left side. Okay? Again, trying to keep that chest up and those hips down, knees back. You don't want the knees coming over the toes. And that's one that is going to be making isometric wipers. Once again, knees closer, back and forth, just like this. It's going to be the easiest version. Knees further out, hips down, back and forth. Obviously, on your toes are going to be the easiest. Now, notice something about my back. Here, I'm allowing my scapula to collapse. Here, I'm not. I don't want the scapula to collapse. I want it out. If I can't do it without collapsing, that means I don't have enough strength in my chest to be able to hold it, and I'm collapsing. Okay, so again, down, and you're moving back and forth. You want a nice wide stance on that, just like that. And you're not moving very far, only a few inches, but keep that scapula integrity intact. So the kettlebell sumo squat from step. So this exercise, you want to be a little bit wider than shoulder width, so a wide stance. Chest stays up. You go to pick up the weight, drop the hips, keep the chest up, pick the weight up. Now, when you come down, it's the same concept. Hips stay back, chest stays up. So you don't want your hips to come forward. You don't want to be doing this right here. What I see a lot of is where people come down and those knees protrude out. Puts a lot of strain on those knee joints. And that's going to hurt your knees over time. Again, put it back into your hips. Put the load in your hips. By doing that, you got to keep the chest up and the load and your heels. I'm sorry. You're going to push through your heels, but your hips stay back. And push through the heels. That puts the load into your glutes and the hamstrings, and that's where you want the load. You don't want the load in your quads. By coming over your knees, that's going to put all the load in your quads and very little into your glutes. Now, the reason we do the step is so you can get a little bit better range of motion. The most you need is one riser at all. For the most part, you probably don't need any risers at all because that will give everybody plenty of range of motion. But if you do need to add one riser, that would be the most you would want to add. For a beginner, If they've never worked out before, or if they haven't worked out in a long time, they don't need any weights on this particular exercise. Just by doing, again, keeping the hands out in front and dropping their hips, just by doing that, they will get sore enough. For a beginner, keep them limited range of motion in the very beginning, something like this, and then in time, increase the range of motion. And then once they get the range of motion and they get and that's not bothering them, as they're not getting too sore from that, then you can start adding load. But never add load to a beginner, especially on any of these on this particular exercise, because it can make them too sore. But there is the kettlebell sumo squat from the step. So the equalizer dips. The equalizer dips. Ideally, you have a bench, either the big bench, small bench, or a step, or one of those stools that we have, or not the stools, but the metal benches that you have over there. So the key on this one, for a beginner, they're going to be putting both their feet up here, and they're going to be slightly forward. The reason is because they'll be able to use their legs to help assist them. So for a beginner, again, they're going to be up here, slightly forward, they come down, they use their legs. As they want to make it a little bit harder, they come a little bit further back. That forces them to use less and less of their legs. That's the very beginning position. Next, for a little bit more advanced, your feet are going to come up here. So you can still use your legs, but it's a lot harder to use your legs in this position. Now the key here is not to drop your shoulders. You want your shoulders up. What you see a lot of is the shoulders drop like this. So you collapse your scapula. You're doing this. You want your shoulders down. Always have the shoulders in the down position anytime we're doing any particular exercise, unless we tell you otherwise. That's option 2. Option 3, again, turn around this way. Feet come up, no assist, shoulders stay high or shoulders stay low. They don't drop like this, so they stay low. Back up. Now, if that bothers people's shoulders or whatever it bothers, they can always do a dip from a bench. So here, they're just going to come down. The key is to keep that butt up against the bench instead of doing something like this. And the reason is because that forces you to use less legs. So most advanced version, this is going to be an easier version. Again, if they can't do the dips, they can always do a box dip. But there is the equalizer dips. The double kettlebell step up. So on the double kettlebell step up, shoulders are down and back. So think about rolling your shoulders down and back. Proud chest. You're going to push through the heel of that front leg, and you're going to keep that chest up. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see this, where people tilt forward. That means they don't have enough strength in their leg, and they're using momentum to drive them through the exercise. So again, step straight up. Ideally, you do not want to bring that foot up and set it on the bench. So you're just coming up, back down. You can bend that back leg just a little bit so you can get to 90 degrees. Again, pressing through the heel, keeping that chest up. I would prefer to see people go heavier on the lower benches than even use the higher bench. The higher bench is going to put a lot more strain on that knee joint. Now, if they need to, or if they feel that they have to, that's okay, but the weight needs to be a little bit lower. For a new person, you do not need to use any weights at all. Just get them to step up. And for a brand new person that has an excessive amount of weight, get a step with no risers and just have them on the step and have them step up and back and step up and back. But have them concentrate on pushing through the heel and activating the glutes. So starting to get their body to learn how to work on these exercises is important, but start them very, very easy. And then in time, you just keep adding risers until you can get them up to a bench like this. So that is the double kettlebell step up. Exercise is going to be the RIP 60 push-up or fly. So for most people, it's going to be push-up. These need to be all the way down. To make it easier, all they have to do is walk further out. So the further out they go, the easier this is. Even for the super deconditioned, they just simply come out here. So it's real easy to modify this exercise. They don't need to do anything other than this exercise. Make it a little bit more challenging, they're gonna walk back. The further they get, the closer they get to that wall, the harder this becomes. They wanna really challenge themselves all the way back to the wall, push-up position. If that's not enough, you can do a fly.